Today I'm in the pretty market town of Halesworth in Suffolk, and I'm here to see a level crossing, but not just any old level crossing. A crossing installed over 100 years ago to solve a problem unique to this town. And it's not something I've ever seen before, and I bet you haven't either. Although Halesworth started as a Roman settlement, its big expansion came in the 1800s because the valley it sits in and the surrounding areas are excellent for growing grains like barley, which was once used in a malt form to make beer, which in the Victorian era was safer to drink than plain water and probably more popular than it is today. So most of the barley and malt that was produced here was sent east to the coast and then down the Thames into London. So the place was absolutely booming. So it wasn't long before a railway opened in 1854. And this is it. This traditional Victorian station building opened in 1859 and it soon became popular and busy. Rail traffic grew and grew over the next few years, and to keep up with the demand, trains added carriages and became longer, and eventually the platforms at Halesworth needed to be extended to accept the new length rolling stock. But there was a problem. At the south end of the station, it just wasn't possible to extend the platforms because of space restrictions and warehouses. And at the north end was a level crossing on this, which is the main road to Norwich, which was pretty important to them at the time, which essentially fixed the length of their platforms. So they had to come up with a way of extending the platforms without closing the road or knocking down their warehouses. And this is how they solved it. It's a special level crossing that can be opened to allow the road still to function, just like any other crossing. But on top is built a platform to be used by the public as a regular platform to get on and off of trains, which helps extend the length of the current platform, allowing the longer trains to stop in Halesworth. So this platform extension that you stand on and use as normal to get onto the train actually moves as the level crossing opens and closes. These moving platforms, as they're now referred to, were installed in 1888 and near enough doubled the length of the existing platforms at the time. They're made up of 4 7-ton lattice sections that were manually swung open after being unlocked by a lever in the signal box, which locked and unlocked the gates in place to prevent trains accidentally running into them. So the pivot point is at this end, and then halfway along you can actually see a brake, and it's got some clamps there just to keep it in position, and that end would come over and actually meet this side of the platform. And then on this side you can see obviously where it rotates, and the pivot point is in the middle of this, and this first half of this platform would rotate and go over to the other side, leaving a gap in the middle to get traffic. But there wasn't just a gap for the traffic, there's also one for people. So as you can imagine, like any road that closes, when it opens up again, everyone's really keen to get away as soon as possible. So if you're in a horse and cart, or later on a motor vehicle, you'd have to wait for these platform bridges to essentially move out the way. But for pedestrians, they had another way to let them across even sooner. So the moving platforms even incorporated a section at the end here on either side that's about 1 metre wide that can actually just be pulled right back out the way to allow pedestrians and cyclists through there and on their way quicker than the vehicles, which I'm told was very popular. So normally at this point in the video, I would come back here to the proper engineering bunker to do a bit of a sketch or something on the whiteboard, or to make a model to show exactly how these worked. But today I don't have to, because the Halesworth and District Museum, which is actually housed in the old station building, has an excellent working model of these moving platforms showing you exactly how they work. After someone in the control box unlocks the crossing, and I assume they also remove any public still standing on the moving platforms, each of the 4 sections will be swung individually by hand, one after the other, eventually opening up a route through for the traffic to cross. Whether it was by design or luck, This also put in a route through here on the right from one platform to the other, which apparently was also used for moving luggage and goods between the two main permanent platforms, using the moving platform as a bridge. To close the crossing to allow the next train to pass through, the opposite routine would happen, closing each section of the crossing by putting the platforms back in place until locked. You can also see the foot traffic gates here, which allow the pedestrians and push bikes early crossing before the moving platforms are moved out of the way, and crossing between trains that were too close together to make it viable to open the whole road. The model also nicely shows the rails that the wheels of the platforms ran on, that were positioned level-wise at the top of the train running rail height to allow the 7-ton bridges to open easily by hand. And although you can't see the pivot mechanism with the platform sections in place, I've found a picture that was taken some time ago during refurbishment works, which shows a very simple set of rollers held around a hub which pivots the bridge section and means that these moving platforms, although pretty heavy at 7 ton apiece, have been designed to swing with the most simple type of mechanism, which in my experience is definitely the best to have. Simple, easy and almost maintenance free. And I think this is a great piece of Victorian engineering and just a brilliant solution to such a difficult problem. The unique Halesworth moving platforms were in service for a total of 70 years, allowing both the railway and local traffic to operate in parallel. Although one of a kind anywhere in the world, to the locals this was just normal life here in a quiet part of Suffolk. The platforms were renewed in 1922 and finally in 1958 when the new Norwich Road and Bridge was completed just a couple of 100 yards to the north, that you can see in the background here, meant that the crossing was no longer needed and it was shut for good. One thing that is a little bit of a shame now is it's just not used. You're not allowed to go on it. They don't need it anymore. Times have moved on and this is never going to move again. It does seem strange that what was once a brilliant, innovative engineering solution is now still sitting in place over 130 years later, fixed with nowhere to go, with no doubt many people passing by every day with no idea what it is and what part it once played in the town's growth. You've got to double check there's nothing coming. So I hope you found this video interesting. It's amazing the number of things that are all around you and you just don't know until someone points them out to you. So I have to say a big thank you to the Halesworth and District Museum for helping me with the research and the photos in this video. It's a great little museum. If you're in Suffolk way, it's definitely worth popping in and having a look. So I hope you've enjoyed this video and you find these things as fascinating as I do. If you want to see some more, please subscribe, hit the bell notification, and I will see you next time.